3.2 is using parallel lines and transversals. So when we discussed yesterday the different types of angles, or a couple days ago, they still apply here, only now we're talking about the two lines that are cut by the transversals are going to be parallel. But the placement of those, corresponding or alternate interior or alternate exterior or consecutive, the placement of them is all the same, but now we're going to be talking about two parallel lines. It makes it actually a little bit easier to view because you don't have so many lines crossing each other. So remember, we talked about parallel lines. Parallel lines are lines that don't cross each other, okay? And we have one postulate and three theorems.
What's a postulate again?
A postulate is something you accept to be true. A theorem is something that you can prove to be true.
So like a postulate is kind of like a hypothesis?
A postulate is like a fact, and a theorem has a hypothesis and a conclusion that you can prove. So one of them is just a fact and you consider it to be true, and the other ones you can prove. So the postulate is called postulate 15, but you don't have to remember that. It's the corresponding angles postulate. It's good if you remember the name. And it says, if two, I'm going to use that symbol for parallel, okay, because that's a symbol for parallel. It's two lines that are next to each other. So if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then the pairs of corresponding angles are congruent. So if these are my two parallel lines and that is my transversal, angle 1 corresponds to angle 2, and I can say by this postulate that angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. I'm also going to use these signs to make the lines parallel. Yep. So the next one, is theorem, is 3.1, and it's the alternate interior angles theorem. And it says, if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then the pairs of alternate interior angles are congruent. So it's basically the same wording, except now instead of talking about corresponding angles, we're talking about alternate interior angles.
Wait, what is TH?
Theorem.
Wait, you said the twice.
Okay. THM means theorem. So let's pretend those were straight, but they're parallel lines. And they're cut by a transversal here. So I'm going to give them the 2 marks to make them parallel. Remember alternate interior, so let's say I call this one 1 and this one 2. They're inside the 2 and they're alternating. I can say angle 1 is congruent to angle 2.